Tony lifted his foot and stomped on the ground. Two massive raw stones weighing thousands of pounds flew into the air. He immediately pulled out two carving knives and started cutting the stones on the spot. The blades danced swiftly, slicing 10,000 lines across the raw stones. Soon a dragon and a phoenix jade sculpture emerged. The craftsmanship was stunning, and the two pieces fit together perfectly as one. This scene left all the jade masters in utter shock, but Tony just tossed his carving knives aside, not willing to waste even a second, saying he was going to challenge the Dragon King next. At that moment the Dragon King heard that Tony had passed 2 trials, and agreed to face him in a duel. The rules this time were brutally harsh. Each person only had 1 cut to find the most valuable stone from dozens of raw pieces. It was not only a test of eyesight, but also a clash of speed and skill. Once the duel began, the Dragon King cut out a piece of imperial green jade, but the stone in Tony's hand hadn't even cracked the surface. Everyone thought he had lost, but Tony stayed calm, and even mocked the Dragon King for losing his eyesight with age, telling him to take a closer look at what he was holding. Turns out Tony had shattered the stone chosen by the Dragon King. Then he said that shattered jade was as worthless as broken stone. But the Dragon King argued that since both stones had 0 value, the match should be called a draw. To everyone's surprise, Tony placed his raw stone on the table and slammed it with his palm. In the next second, the whole stone exploded into 4 pieces, and Tony pulled out a piece of flawless jade from inside. At this point the Dragon King fully admitted defeat and was ready to hand over his throne, but Tony suddenly destroyed his right hand and took the jade ring that symbolized the Dragon King's status. Just as Tony was proudly declaring his new position, the old Dragon King gave a cold warning, saying such arrogance would bring his own downfall sooner or later. And just as he predicted, on Tony's way back, a big truck suddenly rammed into his car, hitting it repeatedly until Tony was thrown out. A man in black showed up right after, crippled Tony's right hand, and took the Dragon King's jade ring, then tossed him off a cliff. Luckily his life was spared. He was rescued by the chieftain of an ancient village in Myanmar, and lived there with amnesia for half a year. He thought he would spend the rest of his life peacefully there, until one day, a mine owner barged into the village with his men, claiming he wanted to buy the village mine, but his offer was only $9.90, clearly an insult. Even worse, he had already made preparations. Not only did he bring people to negotiate, he also planted explosives in the mine to show off his power. He even poured out a pile of signs, each one showing a mine he had already taken over. It was clear he came well prepared. Then he challenged the chieftain to a jade appraisal contest. His chosen representative was none other than the former Dragon King's disciple. Knowing how dangerous the situation was, the chieftain still sent 2 jade masters to compete. As expected, after much effort the 2 masters cut open their stones, but they were nowhere near the quality of the disciple's stone. Just as the boss was about to declare victory and take over the village mine, Tony seemed to recall his identity as the Dragon King.